Many blessings to all of you. I hope that you are doing wonderful on this Thursday, January 3rd, 2019. Happy New Year and new moment to all of you. I hope that you had a blessed celebration or just being open to the arrival of the new calendar year. Of course, every moment is a new moment of creation, of existence, but the new year is celebrated by the collective, and there's such momentum that is held. So we can all join in that collective field. I hope that you guys are doing wonderful, and of course, I am clearing this space and sending purifying energy to all of you using the element of fire. Fire is so transformative, and it creates a powerful surge of movement, right? Of debris, the breaking of debris, I should say. And so, such a powerful elemental force. I absolutely love it. Sending light, transformative healing, and transmutation to all that needs to be dissolved. I'm enjoying Palo Santo incense, and I just love the ritualistic practices. I love sage. I love essential oils. But of course, absolutely love, ooh, that didn't go off. I guess we need a little bit more transformative transformation and healing. There we go. Yes. I absolutely love incense. It's just so ritualistic, so sacred. And so I was inspired to connect today, and I had in my mind, or in my consciousness, I should say, do we ever complete our healing process? And as we ask, immediately we can say, no, we don't, because when we do, we're out of this realm. We're free to leave this realm. And as long as we're here, we're always growing and expanding, remembering. And I don't like the word learning, but reactivating the wisdom and the knowingness that we all possess in our absolute state of purity. And so I don't like the word learning, because there's nothing that we really need to learn but to remember. But of course, as we are in the physical experience while we're in the body, there's always going to be something, no matter how aligned, how dedicated and devoted we are to our practice, there's always going to be a situation, an experience that is going to shake us a little bit, that's going to upset us or wound us, like a trigger. And I felt inspired to sort of start there, because perhaps there are some of us who don't realize that we have this expectation that we're finally going to reach a place where we're going to be free forever of any challenges or of any emotions, or of those feelings that question us or that don't make us feel good. And the answer is, we're not going to be able to avoid those moments, because those are the moments that we're here to conquer. And so it sounds a little paradoxical. I always say that this whole experience is a little paradoxical, right? So what do we do, and what does that really mean? That we, no matter how much work we do, we still have those experiences. Well, the difference is your state of awareness. And the more aware we become, and the more work we've done for ourselves, as far as healing work, then the more prepared we are to be the observer of situations. And in that place of observation, we can quickly pick up the clues and the cues to what it is that we need to become aware of, perhaps what we need to reconcile with or claim, in order then to move to away from that experience, to be able to complete it and be able to move to another experience. I love analogies, and I can't show you this one at this moment, but I was just walking a beloved in the office today because this individual has done a lot of emotional and healing work, and he's found himself very challenged throughout the month with many different kind of personal experiences and discord in the body and just a lot of things, relationships. And so I was trying to illustrate to remind him that it has nothing to do with the fact that we failed somehow or that the process fails. And I really like to elaborate and, really emphasize that, because a lot of times that's how we feel. If we've done some work and we've gone to, say, a healer or a counselor, and we've invested some time in doing some work, and then all of a sudden we find ourselves having an unpleasant experience or a challenging experience, we may go quickly to, oh, this process just doesn't work, and become just disconnected with the journey, walk away from it, and really step into the dark night of the soul. And why we could do that, step into a dark night, is because once we take that blue pill, it's really hard to turn our backs to our sacred selves and the foundation, the universal foundation that we know that supports us and loves us and guides us. It's really hard to walk away from all of that. And so, but it does occur, and we all have dark moments or dark nights of the soul. But to the degree that we experience that, and more importantly, the degree of time that we stay there, is what measures really where we are in our ascension, and the higher in that elevator of ascension can be measured in how quickly we get out of that dark place, and how quickly we find the cues, as I said earlier, that every experience is trying to show us. And so, going back to the beloved I was working with today, just to illustrate that it is a process of healing, this healing process that we are all in some way or another journeying through. I like to just spill a little water, and just enough to make a little splash, and you guys can actually conduct this beautiful and powerful exercise right at home. Just find a flat space like a countertop or a table. Make sure there's nothing around it, and take just about half ounce of water, a tablespoon or two of water, and just splash it on your space. And once you do that, I want you to authentically try to clean it up and see how many times it may take you to clean up the spill. And I guarantee you that no matter whether you have a paper towel or you have a napkin or a towel, it will definitely take you more than one attempt to clean this spill. And how that relates to healing work is that every time that you wipe, you're definitely going to pick up some of the water that you spilled. And maybe you'll need to wipe once or twice, and then you may have the illusion that it's dry. It may look like it is, but there's still some dampness. Or if you look closely, there may be a few drops on the outside of the initial spill. And that's how healing work is. You know, every attempt that you've made or you make to clean that spill counts. And when we do healing work, that initial work that we do is definitely important and it has value. But just as it takes more than one attempt to clean up the spill, so does the process of healing. And it's important to remember that every attempt is indeed valuable and that every effort that you've made does definitely count. So if you find yourself at some point through that journey having a challenge or still experiencing some emotions, triggers, don't judge yourself into feeling that you've wasted your time or that the process may not be working if you're working diligently with integrity and doing some healing work or someone is guiding you towards that. Excuse me. It simply means that those outer little droplets may be lingering, and sometimes it may take a little while for us to really recognize, or we may have to get to a level of awareness and be fine for a while, and all of a sudden something will trigger us, and suddenly we find ourselves emerged in those feelings again. And it's not that you've regressed, but more so that there may be a little droplet of something that we need to take care of. And when we're able to be gentle with ourselves and to see that that is truly what is emerging out of an experience, then we can clean it up and keep progression of growth instead of getting stuck and regressing and having one of those dark moments, right? Yeah, I had one of those experiences this month, and it's actually going to be the subject of a little book, because it was so profound and inspirational. And I'm going to take a few moments to share a synopsis of it because I think it's such a representation of what I'm sharing with you today. And it also illustrates that no matter where we are in our journey, that we have these moments. Anyway, forever I've wanted a little puppy, and forever my beloved, my partner, has said to me no. When we moved into the house that we currently live in, it had wall-to-wall rugs, and he used that as an excuse to say that we couldn't have one. And so we've been at this home for about 6 years now, and just recently, a couple of months ago, we started to redo the inside of the house, paint and clean it up a little bit. And at the list of all the cleanup work was to remove our rugs. And so when that project began, I started to whisper to my partner, well, I guess we're getting closer finally to getting a puppy. And he sort of have listened to me. And we left it at that. Well, on the day where he was literally removing the last piece of rug from our house and walking it out to the garbage outside, there's this woman walking literally in front of him and asks him if he wants a puppy. And she is walking with the most adorable little Yorkie. Anyway, he was stunned. He couldn't believe that as he's walking out the last piece of rug, this woman comes out of nowhere with an offer. And so he tells her to walk into the house to speak to me because he immediately recognizes that is divine intervention. And I see the woman, we talk, she tells me, and I am just flabbergasted. I write books about this, but I was just in awe. of the divine synchronicity. And so, of course, the challenge was that the dog didn't belong to her, it belonged to her brother, and he was living in another state, and he was homeless, and left her babysitting, but she was having a challenge, she works, and, and so it was a sticky situation to say the least, but I shared with her, what I'm sharing with you, and she said, I'm going to call my brother and I'm just going to tell him I can't keep this puppy. And I found this family. Anyway, so she said, I'm going to call my brother and I'm going to get back to you guys. And so we were just beyond ourselves, as you can imagine. And of course, for me, it was, oh my God, this is, divine validation at its best. Anyway, so we were excited for a day, 2 days, 3 days. We're waiting. We go past a week and nothing. We haven't heard from her. And now slowly but surely we start to get disenchanted and wondering, like, what was that all about? And now we're getting into the 2-week period. And at this point, I am just so disgusted. I felt like I was being teased. I felt like I was being set up. I started taking it on with the universal life force, with the consoles, with the avatars, and like, what was that? I mean, something truly happened to me energetically in my heart when I picked up that puppy, and I felt immediately like it was mine. And so to have had that experience and then almost like being stolen from me, I felt like it was a dirty setup. Anyway, on the eve of the 2-week period, I found myself just not well, and feeling angry and not knowing where else to turn, having already taken on the universal life force and my guides and the angels and everybody in between. I reached out to my daughter, who is in the afterlife, and I asked her to help me reconcile and to accept the inevitable, and to help me release the anger that I was feeling in my heart. And I kind of felt a little better that night. And the next morning, as I was waking up, I find myself in the presence of my beloved daughter sitting next to me. Of course, I do medium work, so that's not a surprise to me. And, I ask all of those who are listening that, of course, to accept this if it resonates. And if it doesn't, you don't have to accept it. But there she was in the energetic form, and I had to take a blink, even though I know from doing medium work that it's, of course, possible. But I just needed to take a second blink to see if she was there, and she definitely was sitting with me. And simply said to me, Mom, it's going to be okay. Everything is going to work out. But what you need to do is to forgive yourself. And I take a pause from the story I've just shared because when she was very ill 14 years ago, she was living with me, and I also had my son, who at the time was 5 years old. And it was during the holidays, and my partner at the time and I thought it would be a good idea to get a puppy in order for Jonathan, who was 5, but also perhaps to help Brenda to deal with the discord that she was experiencing and the illness. So we got a beautiful puppy, and of course, we felt immediately all very happy to have a new member of the family. But yes, what happens is that during the next few weeks, Brenda becomes ill, worse and worse. And she starts going to the hospitals, in and out. And I couldn't always go with her because Jonathan had developed the measles. And so I know I'm giving you a lot of details. I'm going to kind of bring this quickly together. And so now she is in the hospital, and I'm tending to my 5-year-old son at the time, who had the measles, and I couldn't be there with her. And so, anyway, one fateful night, while she's at the hospital, I am about to get ready to cook, and we were told that, we should periodically put the puppy at the time in a crate, just to give it a little bit of downtime. And it was really small, so it had very small legs, and it couldn't climb steps or come down steps. And so that is important, because just before I started to cook, I took the puppy, took it up a flight of steps, put it in the crate, closed the crate, and then put a blanket over it, and came back down to cook. And a few moments later, I hear to my right the bells of the collar of the puppy, like coming from my right. And I just kind of stopped and I said, it's impossible, so I kept doing what I was doing. But a few moments later, I hear it again, and I said, it's coming from my right, which is not where the stairs are or the room where the crate was. So I start to slowly walk in that direction, and sure enough, miraculously, the puppy Button's hat was in the living room. Now again, I have to remind you, he was in a crate, there was a stairway, and there were French doors that led into the living room that were closed. Anyway, of course, when I saw the puppy sitting in the living room, there was an instant knowingness that something was amiss, and that it was a miraculous appearance, that it was a divine intervention. And so I dropped everything, and I made arrangements for family members to come and stay with my son, and I ran to the hospital. And of course, 20 minutes after I arrived there, my daughter crossed over. And how that plays an incredible part in the current situation is that she used that puppy to send a message to me, and there was no denying. And thankfully for me, I was aware enough to receive the message from her, and was able to be there during her transition. But what happens is that now, after she transcends, I have a blockage with that puppy. And I don't know, I just couldn't get close to it after that. And eventually I separated from my partner at the time, and I left the puppy behind. And so fast forward, 14 years later, and here I find myself struggling to understand what was going on with this new puppy that entered my life and seemed like it was going to be ours, and all of a sudden this woman is gone. And this is what Brenda was talking to me about, that I needed to heal that part of feeling guilty that I wasn't there with her, of blockage that I created with this puppy Buttons and her transition. And that was 14 years ago, and yet here I was 14 years later, not even aware that there was a blockage. And so thanks to my daughter and to my awareness, I immediately went into that place of asking her and Buttons to forgive me for walking away, for creating a blockage. Well, and so I received that message on a fateful morning 2-3 weeks ago, and woke up. I told my current partner that my daughter had come to me, and that she said everything was going to be okay. And all of a sudden my partner decides that he's going to walk out and start my car, something that he never does. And I said, what? You're going to do what? And he says, yeah, you know what? It's cold and people are having problems with their cars. I'm just going to go start up your car. And I was like, okay. He walks out, and lo and behold, who is 2 doors away knocking on the wrong door but the woman with the little Yorkie? The synchronicity and the timing and the message. It was just incredible. Of course, like I said, I'm going to create a book to share the miracles of how things happen. Anyway, fast forward. So the woman was indeed looking for us 2 weeks to the date, and she said that she wanted to know if we would babysit the puppy because she needed to take a trip. The situation with the brother was still in limbo. The brother did not want her to give the puppy away. But we agreed to babysit, and she said that she was still working on trying to convince him that she had found a wonderful family. And so we took the puppy and we babysat. And trust me that during that 2 week period, there was a lot of going back and forth. I just kind of want to close the story that I'm sharing. We cried many times. Many times she said that she was going to come back for it, and we sort of held on to the messages, that the miracles that we had already known and seen, and the messages from my daughter and the healing aspect of that. And anyway, just yesterday, we finally, created the transactions and the exchanges, and Puzzles is his name, finally became ours just yesterday. And wow, so many things that I can observe, from the miraculous to divine intervention to patience to perseverance to learning to healing. See? And I took all this time to share that story, and I hope that it inspires you to believe in miracles and to believe in divine messages, but also because, I found myself needing to heal something that I wasn't aware that I had to heal. And this is what occurs, that there are times when we don't know that there's something that we need to clear in order to make room for something else. And that's perfect, because I needed to let go of that blockage with buttons in order to receive puzzles into my life. And so I hope that sharing speaks to you, and that if you find yourself, like I did, wondering why this wasn't taking fruition, and why didn't I deserve, and why did I have this yearning? And we could apply those feelings to many things: a job, happiness, a relationship, stability, wellness, health, abundance. We can apply it to any and every situation. How wonderful it would be if you can take a step back and become the observer and see if you find a previous experience that it correlates to, that it has a resonance to, something perhaps that needs to be released or forgiven, or just recognized. Because truly, our birthright is to have and to be able to experience all the goodness and all the purity and all the happiness and joy that we can. And when we find ourselves in a situation where we're not experiencing that, it's not that we've messed up or screwed up somehow, but more so that there is something that is requiring healing and reconciliation. And it could be from this lifetime or a past lifetime. And it is really key to discover what that is. And that's why, of course, I advocate healing work, working with someone that you have a resonance with, because sometimes it's difficult for us to be able to isolate what that situation may be. Um, but when we have someone looking in as the observer, they can be a great catalyst to help us to piece the pieces of the puzzle together. Yes? And so, the many different levels of healing. Um, we're always healing, and yet we're always growing, unless we're not. And oh goodness, we hope that we all are. And even when we're stuck, it is really a push for us to grow, to step out of that stuck place or justification place, and to be able to do the work that not only frees us and releases us, but opens the gateway to be able to proceed in the experiences and the manifestations of what we desire to experience. Yes. And so I hope that that has been helpful in some way uh, to to you, and I hope that the story was inspirational, and I hope it inspires you to look at any areas that may be calling your attention. And of course, I'm always here, uh, to help in any way that I can. Um, I just love the sharing, and I hope that you do too. Anyway, I am going to remind anybody who's in the tri-state area, I am going to be offering yet another shamanic apprenticeship. This one is going to be an intensive one, which means that I usually offer the apprenticeship in 5 modules, 5 different classes, and I'm kind of breaking this one up because there was many people who were asking for a weekend instead of every other Friday, how I have been typically offering the apprenticeships. And so we're going to do 3 different modules, but intensives from 11 to 4. If you happen to be in the tri-state area, there is one spot left. Beautiful, incredible, transformative shamanic work. And I do have a video or two on my website that can be purchased that are not apprenticeships but do speak about the apprenticeship shamanic work. It is such a life transformative journey, grounding and just life transforming. I can't say enough about it. And so I know that so many of you have reached out to ask me if I teach it online or distantly. I can, but I cannot, of course, certify, and the actual apprenticeship cannot be experienced distantly. It has to be done on a tribal experience, but that doesn't mean that we cannot learn about the shamanic journey and how to incorporate some of that incredible elemental earthwork into our lives. Yes. And so that's happening January 12th here in New York and Staten Island. If you are local and are inspired to look into that, I will put my website link. And there's so many other goodies there. My books, 16 of them, and my Synergy oils, which sprays that I just created for the expo, the shamanic spray. There's so much. And so if you're inspired, take a little time to look. Distant sessions, Skype sessions, readings, and all that goody stuff. And so I hope that if you find something that resonates, look forward to working with you guys. And of course, as always, I'm so ever thankful for the comments. I love the fact that some have left, topics that they would like me to share, and I love that, so thank you for that. And of course, the support for Emerald Paradigm. Luna and I have been working on putting some live streams together. I know that you guys have been joining us. We are tentatively planning to do one tomorrow around 11ish or so, 11:30. So look out for that. And what else? And we have, of course, we always have to mention it, the Emergence Costa Rica retreat coming up March 31st. And there is also a couple of spots there. Luna and I are so excited about offering that. So if you're inspired to join us, make sure to reach out to Loon or myself, or visit our website so you can find out more information. That's going to be incredible. Yes? And last but not least, to the Patreon supporters, thank you so very much for your support. It is the support, whether it's viewing or the comments, the love light, or the alchemical support. All of that is so important and instrumental in helping in continuing to offer videos and the guidance, and it's just so very important. And so I'm very grateful, humble, thank you, and I look forward to continuing to offer and to do these videos as well. And so I give you always with my love, with my light, and with my peace. I love you all so very much, and I wish you all a momentous, joyous, happy New Year. And I look forward to hearing your comments and commentaries and questions, and I love it all. Until next time, love and light to you.